Hey y'all, this here's a trading post, and this is Badasses, episode 3, and this is going to be about Tadina, the ghost of Vietnam. What do you think, Noodle? Pretty interesting subject, huh? What are you shivering for, buddy? Huh? Those fans got you cold. I'm sorry, dude. Anyways, you guys, I hope you're interested. I hope you stay tuned in. We got a lot of interesting stuff here, man. We're gonna touch up on a lot of stuff this month. All right. I'm trying to literally double time it, and just so I can touch up on a lot of very creepy, interesting things. Obviously, this one is it's not so much creepy as it is. A lot of the things that happen is horrific. But the point is, we have to pay respects to those that deserve it, right? Those that sacrifice for us, for our freedoms, all that good stuff. I'm just saying that this man deserves a lot of respect. And he got it. And he absolutely got it. But you know what? My hat's off to you, Tadina, the real ghost of Vietnam. An amazing, amazing human being. Saved a lot of lives. He's done a lot of amazing things. And we're going to find out shortly. All right? I got to take care of little man. We'll get back to you, all right? All right, everybody, I'm back. And as I said prior to this, this is Badasses episode 3, and this is about Tadina, the ghost of Vietnam. It's going to be an interesting one, you guys. I mean, I think just about every episode we do is interesting. I mean, because I'm learning something from every one of them. I hope you guys are learning too, because there's a lot to learn in this life. You can never stop learning. Always remember that. Anyway, we're going to get on with this because I don't want to make it too daggone long for y'all. Tadina, the ghost of Vietnam, Command Sergeant Major Patrick Tad Gavin Tadina was 77 when he passed away on May 29th of 2020. Patrick was raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, and from what his friend was remembering him telling him, he was a Filipino, Chinese, German, Irish, Hawaiian descent. He was of descent. He said he was a young drug runner of sorts, always bordering on jail time. Suppose he was offered prison or the military. 30 years later, Tad retired as a command sergeant major. Patrick was about 5'5" and probably weighed around 125 pounds or so. Patrick had those hardcore killer eyes people get once they have been in the shit. Okay? So this man, it was his friend or whatever, he's talking about this. And he knows. So, take it from him. He knows what he's talking about. This man was a bona fide hero. He forged his reputation on the battlefields of Vietnam with the 173rd Airborne Brigade's Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, or LRRP, 74th Infantry Detachment Long Range Patrol, LRP, and November Company, 75th Rangers for over 5 years straight as a team leader. Small 4 to 6 man teams operating behind enemy lines with hundreds of patrols under his belt. He personally killed around 130 men. He did not like the killing and was probably responsible for the deaths of maybe high hundreds, if not thousands, more by calling in artillery and airstrikes on enemy forces they had bumped into. So, what set this man apart was that he served 5 consecutive years in combat and never had one of his Rangers killed. That's freaking amazing, you guys. That's amazing. 5 years in Vietnam and not one of his Rangers was killed. Kudos to that man. That's savage stuff there, man. That's crazy. So let's see here. It's where am I? I'll pick up from here. I'm sorry, you guys. I might sidetrack and just bear with me. 60 months of continuous service. He was wounded 3 times. Not one teammate killed. He is loved by those who served with him. His brother died in Vietnam. He returned home for the funeral and was arrested as he tried to get back to the war because he was the sole male survivor of the family. And Mom wanted him to stay home. He escaped to rejoin his men facing combat. His small stature and dark complexion helped him pass for a Viet Cong soldier on patrols deep into the Central Highlands, during which he preferred to be in the point position. His citations describe him walking to within feet of enemies he knew to be lying in wait for him and leading a pursuing enemy patrol into an ambush set by his team. Another story, told by his comrade and good friend Roy Boatman, also deceased, also a Ranger, SF in Vietnam, was that Tad infiltrated an enemy hospital to free a prisoner of war. He killed a guard with a silenced .22, but found the hospital deserted. He is a legend in the Ranger community for certain. Tadina joined the Army in 1962 and served in the Dominican Republic before going to Southeast Asia. He served with the 82nd Airborne Division in Grenada during Operation Urgent Fury in 1983, and with the 1st Infantry Division during Operation Desert Storm in 1991. He retired in 1992 as a CSM and worked as a private contractor and trainer for air marshals and had deployments to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan. In 1995, Patrick Tadina was inducted into the Ranger Hall of Fame. Tad holds the distinction of being the longest continuously serving Ranger during the Vietnam War. That's one hell of a thing to be noticed for. That's amazing. His 22 awards, possibly the most decorated soldier in Vietnam, include 2 Silver Stars, 10 Bronze Stars, with 7 Valor Devices, 3 Vietnamese Crosses of Gallantry, 4 Army Commendation Medals, including 2 for Valor, and 3 Purple Hearts. He was a true Ranger and a true warrior and a true friend, they say. Now, Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol Detachment, 173rd Airborne Brigade. We're going to go into that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. All right? The 173rd Airborne Brigade deployed to the Republic of Vietnam on May 5th of 1965 of temporary duty, or as they call it, TDY status. The first Army combat maneuver element to arrive in Vietnam. Literally the first. What? Come on, man. I got to scratch my head on this a little bit, man. That's just to take it all in, y'all. Take this all in. You know what I mean? Amazing. Amazing. On August 5th, 1965, the TDY status was changed to Permanent Change of Station, or PCS. It quickly became apparent to Brigadier General Ellis W. Williamson that a reconnaissance element was needed to supplement Troop E, 17th Cavalry, who were mounted troops and had the mission of providing road security and were ill-equipped or trained to perform dismounted reconnaissance missions. Okay, so General Williamson tasked the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the 503rd Infantry to ask for volunteers to form the Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, or LRRP, detachment. The volunteers would not be permanently assigned to the LRRP detachment as there were no table of organization and equipment, or TO&E. The LRRP provisional was formed from volunteers from the infantry battalions and placed on special duty status. Team makeup consists of one lieutenant team leader, one staff sergeant, assistant team leader, and two enlisted personnel or scouts. Training was given to the LRRPs by the 1st Royal Australian Regiment, who were familiar with jungle ops in Malaysia. The LRRP detachment could not be maintained at full strength. 4 teams, 16 personnel, due to combat losses of the infantry battalions who requested that their SD personnel be returned. The first long-range patrol operation was in support of Operation New Life in the Langaga, I can't even say this shit, LANGA River Valley north of Vodat on November 21st, 1965. The teams had to twice swim rivers to get into their area of operations, or AO. Many of the operational techniques learned during actual combat patrols became standard operating procedure, or SOP, for the personnel who became replacements for the troops who returned to stateside assignments after their one-year tour of duty. Lieutenants were no longer assigned as team members, and the patrol leaders were the experienced non-commissioned officers of the LRRP detachment. The LRRP detachment became a permanent part of Troop E, 17th Cavalry in June 1966. Many of the original members of the LRRP platoon were trained at the 101st Airborne Division Recondo School at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Additional training of the volunteers was on the job training, or OJT, and at the Recondo School at Natrang. Many of these volunteers never had the chance to attend any formal training, as the 173rd Airborne Brigade was constantly on operations throughout the 3rd Corps and 2nd Corps areas of the Republic of Vietnam. However, infiltration and extraction techniques were refined and were SOP, standard operating procedures, for the duration of the LRRP's operations in Vietnam. One misnomer that was in the mission statement for LRRPs was the word reconnaissance. Many of the missions given to the LRRPs were of a combat nature. The major unit commander had a highly trained and motivated force on the ground, which had located an enemy force of various sizes and had the opportunity to inflict casualties upon an elusive enemy. The commander frequently utilized this option. Teams were typically briefed that when their mission of surveillance was completed, they would ambush or capture a prisoner of the last day of their mission. Occasionally, the LRRPs would receive an ambush or snatch mission as their primary mission. Now, we're going to talk about the 74th Infantry Detachment, Airborne Long Patrol, 173rd Airborne Brigade. The Department of the Army, that's a long title, by the way, you guys. I was getting winded on it. Sorry. But the Department of the Army officially authorized the formation of the 74th Infantry Detachment, or LRP, on December 20th, 1967. And all personnel of the LRRP platoon were absorbed into the 74th Infantry Detachment, or the LRP. Okay? Now, we're going to go into the next thing here. Well, we're going to go into the rest of this. Let's see here, where are we continuing at? All right, you guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm rushing through this. I know it's only like, we're probably not even like 10, 12 minutes into this thing, but I'm not trying to overextend everything for you guys, you know. I'm trying to hit the points, be very clear when I'm speaking. I hope you guys are catching this stuff, and I'm sorry I'm brushing through it. So I'll slow down on these last few to try and, I don't know, maybe balance it out or something. Maybe we can redo this episode if it's not good. If you guys don't like it to that point, maybe I can fix whatever. Throw some comments in down below. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. It's all about you guys anyways. All right? So let's continue on. I don't want to hold it up. The 173rd Airborne Brigade had moved to Dak To in the 2nd Corps area of Vietnam. The 74th Infantry Detachment, LRP, was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation for its actions during the Dak To battles in November 1967. However, this was in error as the 74th Infantry Detachment, LRP, did not exist at the time. The award should have been presented to the 173rd Airborne Brigade, LRRP. The 74th Infantry LRP continued to perform missions as directed by the 173rd Commander throughout the 2nd Corps region of Vietnam and eventually established a base camp at An Key. Team members and potential team leaders were now able to attend the Recondo School conducted by the Special Forces at Nha Trang on a rotating basis while continuing to be the quote-unquote eyes and ears of the commander. Staff Sergeant Laszlo Rebel, 74th Infantry Detachment, LRP, was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on November 12, 1968. He was the only LRP member to be awarded the medal during the Vietnam War. Much credit needs to be given to the personnel of the LRRP platoon and the 74th Infantry Detachment LRP for establishing the doctrine that would become standard operating procedure for Company N Ranger 75th Infantry, which absorbed the personnel of the 74th Infantry Detachment LRP on February 1st of 1969. Now, we're going to go into more detail about that. We're going to talk about N Company Ranger, 75th Infantry Airborne, 173rd Airborne Brigade. Okay? Company N Ranger, 75th Infantry established a base camp at Landing Zone, or LZ, Bon Son, RVN, from which to launch their deep penetration missions behind or within enemy-controlled areas. The 173rd ABN Brigade had assumed the mission of pacification of the Bong Son Plains. Company N Ranger 75th Infantry become a ranger screen while the brigade was on pacification. The TO and E specified that the NOV Rangers would consist of 3 officers and 72 enlisted personnel. The assigned officer served as the commander, executive officer, and operations officer. 12 operational teams of 6 men, each composed entirely of enlisted personnel. The remaining enlisted personnel had the duties of platoon sergeant, tactical operations center, or TOC, supply and administration. Missions of the Ranger Company were typically 3 to 5 days with a 2-day break in between for debriefing, rest, and preparation for the next mission. The Rangers were operating in the mountainous terrain of the An Lao, Ando, Soi Ka, and Crow's Foot valleys, the Highland Fishhook and Noi Ba and Tiger Mountains of northern Binh Dinh province, which bordered the 1st Corps area. This area of responsibility was to remain the domain of N Company for the remainder of the war. The brigade Tet 69 campaign lasted from February 9th to March 1969 and marked the first independent employment of a Ranger Company in screening operations of the Vietnam War. During this period, which was typical for Ranger operations, N Company conducted over 100 long-range patrols that resulted in 134 sightings of enemy personnel and 63 enemy killed by direct action, 5 prisoners, and a much larger number of enemy killed by Ranger-sponsored indirect fire and reaction elements. The Rangers' casualties for this period was 1 killed in action, 21 KIA, 20 WIA, and none captured or missing. So you had 1 killed in action, 20 wounded in action, and none captured or missing. In November 1969, the brigade permanently increased the size of the company to full company strength of 128 Rangers. Acceptance into the Rangers was based upon factors of a GT score of 100 or higher, no physical or mental impairments, and voluntary request for the Ranger Company. All prospective personnel were interviewed prior to acceptance, and full acceptance was not granted until the volunteer had completed a period of individual training conducted by the company and had participated in a few patrols to prove his capabilities. Ain't that something, y'all? We're learning some stuff, ain't we? Let's get it. Now, this is the very last of it, and maybe we'll talk a little bit and discuss, a little bit here. Training was a combat mission for volunteers and a high-speed approach to training. Company and Ranger 75th Infantry received numerous experimental systems to maximize performance. 9mm pistols with silencers were sent to the company from civilian firms in the United States. They were used to take out the NVA or VC sentries that guarded base camps and way stations. An experimental system for firing electronically detonated claymores that were daisy-chained or widowmakers became a staple for Ranger ambushes, or window makers. It has window makers written here, but I've heard of widowmakers. That's something different, I believe. Let me know down below if you know what it is. Became a staple of Ranger ambushes. November Company personnel were called upon to conduct special contingency missions, such as the Bright Light mission of prisoner rescue and the destruction of the VC infrastructure throughout Binh Dinh province. During April 1971, the brigade commander finally put the unofficial black beret on a ranger's head during a ceremony that honored the men of the Ranger Company for an earlier action. The beret had been denied the Rangers primarily because of senior officer opposition to further distinctions between unit paratroopers. On August 25th, 1971, Company and Ranger 75th Infantry was solemnly deactivated. The Rangers of Company N 75th Infantry performed with exceptional courage and valor throughout their existence and service in Vietnam. 2 years and 6 months. Today, the modern Rangers of the 75th Ranger Regiment continue the tradition of being the premier fighting element of the active army. The traditions and dedication to their fellow Rangers continues to this day. Now, you guys, let's be honest. This dude, he's bad. He's a bad man. I mean, he was getting within feet of enemy. Come on, y'all. Don't tell me this dude ain't no badass. Ain't no way. I ain't gonna hear it. This dude was straight up. He was the real deal, y'all. The real deal. And I'll be honest with you, I can speculate and say this myself. Like, just hearing just some of this stuff, and I'm sure there's probably a lot more that we don't know or I haven't been able to find or dig up. This dude here could probably, honestly, he could be considered a real life Rambo too. Just the same as, oh my God, the name's escaping me. Shame on me. Roy Benavidez. These dudes are just, they're cut from a different cloth, man. They're straight up like these dudes was hardcore. They were in it to get their men back. You know what I mean? And it's that brotherhood that the military, that bond that they have, it's on another level, man. And anybody that's not in the military won't understand it. You know, I personally can't because I'm not in the military. I haven't been. I wished I was. I tried and I got rejected due to medical reasons. So there you have that. But yeah. My hat's off to these people, man. The sacrifices that they did. You know, no matter what, every military serviceman, servicewoman, they all sacrifice. And we need to bring this to the forefront so people step back and actually look at it and recognize this. Understand this. You have, at any given point in time, you could be sent out on TDY. You could be, taken away from your family at any given point in time for extended amounts of time, a year, 2 years, who the hell knows? It depends on what's going on. It might be months. You're going to miss holidays with your family. And that's a heavy sacrifice to do. You know what I mean? It puts a strain on the relationship between the two partners in the relationship. It puts a strain on the kids. It puts a strain on a lot. Excuse me. It puts a strain on an awful lot. But yet they do this. Because if they don't do it, who's going to? Right? So thank you to all of you that serve, that protect the country, protect your country, wherever you're at, wherever you're viewing this. This pertains to everybody, anybody all around the world. Hats off to all of you that serve in the military, that protect your ground, that protect your people, to protect, your country. Kudos to all of you. But I can tell you this right now. There's just some people that are on a total different level. It's like their reaction, it's almost like their reaction time is like second to none. It's motor skills is like second-hand nature for protection, for defending, and it really is scary to know that there are people like that, but it's scary, but it's also really good to know, because if those people didn't have those reflexes, didn't have those skills, didn't train day in and day out to protect us civilians, who knows where we would be. I know a lot of us, we don't like the fact about war. The soldiers themselves, they don't like that fact. They don't want to go into war. It'd be nice if everything could be solved in a diplomatic way, but there's just so much red tape and just so many other things, disagreements, greed, things of that sort that get in the way. And it has for a long time, since currency has been created. Even before that, really. I mean, greed was around when people be stealing pigs and cows and shit. You know what I mean? So the greed was around. It's been around for as long as man's been alive, pretty much, in my opinion. But anyways, this is the episode on the ghost of Vietnam, Tadina. An amazing individual, a next level soldier, just amazing, absolutely amazing, as is all of these people that we're going to have on these episodes of Badasses. Okay? So you guys, if you have any comments, if you have anything you want to tell me, you can email me at thetradingpost8124@gmail.com, or you can just comment down below if you're not shy about doing that, but if you want it to be private, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer any questions or to learn something from you. That's what we're here for. That's why this is the Trading Post, as I've said in the past, okay? The Trading Post, what this is meant to be, is for us to trade our stories. I don't care if it's cryptids. I don't care if it's military stories. I don't care if it's a story about how to do something for an instructional video or whatever. All right? This is our community. We're all family here, right? No judgment. There's no judgment here. We're not going to have it. I mean, like I say, we do joke around, hey, you gotta have some fun, but we're not going to be, I'm not no tight ass woke person. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm straight up. I'm not one. I'm not one of those. I'm not going to be. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are woke that aren't that. There's a specific people I'm talking about. Okay. But we're not going to have no Karens coming up in here trying to run their mouths. We ain't going to, nope. Boop, block, skate on down the road. If you don't like the station, change the channel. That's what I'm saying, right? That's how we roll around here. But all of my people that listen to this, let's enjoy ourselves, all right? Be glad you got another day of life, you know? Be glad for all the little blessings in life, because those are the biggest in reality. They are the biggest blessings. So, if you have a loved one, grab them tight. Hold on to them. Tell them you love them. Don't ever let them go. Do what you have to do to make things work, whether it's your intimate relationship, whether it's your family relationship, whether it's a professional relationship with people you just care about, genuinely. So, I'm going to stop ranting and raving here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. But like we always say here, you guys, live, laugh, and love. Because tomorrow isn't promised to anybody. You have a good one, you guys. And I'll see you all on the next one. All right? Stay tuned, y'all. Talk to you later.